That was an emotional experience.
I have to say, that was incredible. That's got to be one of the best animated films I've ever seen, honestly, in my entire life, and I've lived longer than her.
Please watch it. This robot has more human emotion than the real humans I know.
I didn't know where it was going.
Yeah.
Essentially. The premise of it is a robot falls from the sky and lands onto, we don't know where, but we find out it's an island.
Well, she washed up on shore.
Yeah, washed up on shore. From the get-go, you could really tell that there was intentionality behind all of the shots and all of the angles that they were using. I mean, obviously you use a virtual camera in computer-generated animation. It was just phenomenal.
It felt very, very real. All of the water and the color, and I felt like I was outside.
Yeah, it really felt like a complete world, even though it was digital. Let me pause for a moment while I wipe my nose. Sometimes when I'm holding the cat, like I get all this cat hair on me, and then I still get a little,
You were the one that picked him up.
I know, but he's so cute.
He is.
Our cat is adorable and a pain in the neck. Phantom is his name.
Yes.
And he is the Phantom Menace.
Most of the time. Other times he's an absolute snuggle bug.
Okay, so the movie starts with who eventually will be called Roz, an advanced robot from some corporate
Ancient
entity.
future.
Yeah, Ancient future?
Ancient future? What am I saying?
An advanced robot.
Distant future.
There you go. And this robot is cast in a completely wild outdoor setting and has to learn how to adapt because she's used to getting tasks given to her by human
Well,
masters.
she's not used to anything. That's, I think, the point. Her first experience was supposed to be her being given to a family, and there was no family there. And she was just, again, washed up on shore, and she's expecting to be given a task, and she doesn't know what to do.
So she's interacting with these animals and trying to get instructions from them, and they only speak animal. And she's looking through a database trying to figure out what they're saying and has no idea. So she starts
mimicking them, yeah. When we were looking at the making of, they talked about how they were looking at all of the different movements of each animal, and that really drove it home. Like, all of these animals, their mannerisms and her mannerisms, copying them was on point. It was amazing. I watched little fox videos where they have like enclosures and stuff, and they give them little eggs, and they run off and they're all happy and their tails are wagging, and it's just like, those sounds, those movements, that's a fox, you know? Like, it was really well researched. It was great.
And it was an entire menagerie of these animals, and the animators had to get their movements of each one right.
Yeah.
And they had to also animate the robot to mimic them as well. So
yeah, that's even harder.
I mean, this whole movie is a testament to the artist. What struck me was how much the artist's voice, the artist's work was brought to the fore with this. It's truly amazing.
They purposely decided to go against it and go for a more painterly feel. They talked about how they had to go over a background with a digital palette knife in order to make it feel like it was an actual human that made it, because at that point it is. The use of color, the way that the color was pushed around, like, that's a human. And it's very, very clear. Yeah, the
writer-director Chris Sanders, who you may not know the name, but you know the movie, How to Train Your Dragon. He was an essential part of that, but you can just tell how much heart he put into it. I mean, when we were watching the making of, it was talking about essentially how loved, cared for, and protecting the artists were of this story.
It was a real percussion, digital artists, music artists, animators. They weren't just throwing it through a system. They were doing it themselves by hand. And, I love it so much.
Everyone brought their talents to it. I do gotta say, just because this is X and Z channel, old guys rule. Like, lots of old guys working on this, but they have brought all their experience in hand drawing and painting and tactile, physical artistry.
Yeah, I love that they added that to the music, that they had like real, like, essentially Foley artists making the music.
Right.
It is just like awesome, the way that they said that the music had a tactile feel.
Yeah.
That was great. Young artists, do better, please. I'm not even kidding. I'm on his side with this.
But the composer was young. The artists were old. I have not been delighted in a very long time with a movie.
We both cried.
All right. So the story is this robot who stumbles across a goose egg.
Well, she got attacked by a bear and then accidentally crushed most of the eggs. And then she found one and she decided to rescue it. And nobody told her to do that. I was thinking about all of the things where she was like taking in a request. and she was acting on it immediately. But then there were times where she did make that decision, and I think that was her first decision.
She would go off her programming of not wanting to do harm, and then this fox, who they call Fink.
What do you think?
If you're a Fink, that means you're a jerk, which this fox is constantly called at throughout the movie, because the fox wants to eat the egg, and is a very selfish character.
At first, yeah.
At first. He's a great character, too. And then this little egg bursts forth, and then we get Bright Bill, this ridiculously cute little gosling. Not Ryan.
So adorable. Oh my gosh. Whenever it fell asleep, it turned into a little pancake, and it was so soft.
This movie is a lot about being a parent.
Yeah.
And being a kid. Mm-hmm. And that's the surprising thing about this. This is not where I expected this movie to go at all. It wound up leaning into universal things that all of us can access. It's amazing what they packed into this. Was the story of a goose and a robot. Who would have thought that could be part of it? There really was a sense of empathy, and it wasn't
community too, yeah.
It wasn't phoned in empathy, though. You could really tell that it felt like it came from a real place.
Empathy is something that is, it's half learned, half experienced. For instance, some kids who've been neglected, they won't feel as much empathy for things, and so they need to learn it over time. And with the robot not experiencing empathy at first, then slowly learning it, it showed developmental stages of actual real human beings, where they learn how to feel for someone. They just learn how to be a person by being with other people. When people are alone, they don't know how to be a person anymore. They kind of just digress, and it makes people depressed. It really does. So when we come together as people, we learn how to feel and to feel loved.
The downside of social media is it's not merely making us very social. And the genius of this movie is by using a robot that has very few features, just two eyes, you can project your emotions onto that character. And oddly enough, us being on our phones all the time, we're sort of turning into kind of robots, and we're not connecting with people as much anymore.
Quite literally being faceless most of the time.
There's this point where she sits down and just spends time learning about everyone around her. Yeah. And starts decoding their language, their animal gibberish until words start forming. I thought that was genius. Yeah. Little bits of words were forming here and there.
It was great. And you could fill in the blanks of what they were saying halfway through it. Yeah. It was great. And she was taking the time to learn about another person. And it's like, that's important. That's how you make connections too, is that you learn about another person. And you accept them for who they are.
She was investing time. And that's the thing that we all need. For someone to really care about us, we gotta hang out. We've gotta...
And actually take time.
Right. Invest in each other for those relationships.
And a lot of us don't have that time. It's something that, even though it sucks right now, to make time. Whatever it is that's getting in the way of you socializing. But it is actually worth it. People who hang out with other people actually have not only better connections, they have, hope. They actually have hope for the future. When people are alone, it's easy for their thoughts to get the better of them, and they don't have that hope.
Good, like adventures going out, maybe playing an actual game together.
Weirdly enough, doing a task with the other person, if you're doing it with another person, all of a sudden it's not a drag anymore, Yeah.
One thing that's great about it, too, is that he's such a good storyteller, Chris Sanders, that he has the wild robot complete her task midway through the movie.
Yeah.
And that's not the end of the story.
Yeah.
And I thought that was genius because he was trying to press in more to the relationships, the meaning behind it, the universal truths that we all connect to. Honestly, the community going through struggle and being stronger together, and it's not just a hashtag, it's really earned. And people have to learn to put aside their differences and be there for each other and help each other. And then it does give you hope because you realize when you're going through hard things, you're not going through them alone.
Gonna make me cry.
I'm sorry,
They all hated each other, but they were going to work together. And afterwards, they were closer for it. They were stronger for it. And it was a monument to family and togetherness.
And why did that make you emotional?
Because everyone needs it. It's something that we need, and it's nice, and I don't get to see that a lot with my generation. We're all separate and bitter, and while I really, really, really like it when people talk about their niche interests, it also kind of separates us a lot. We're putting ourselves into little groups and biting and gnashing at anyone who isn't a part of it or doesn't agree with it.
We're in cliques.
Yeah, and that has always hurt that people do that. That people don't just band together.
Strangely enough, it's a great lesson to learn from this story, even though it deals with animals and robots. Your heart starts learning those lessons through the story without it being just like slammed in your face and dictated to you. And that's the power of positive storytelling that moves toward hope. They even have a couple moments in there that they talk about storytelling and why that's important.
Yeah.
How will fictional narrative help Brightville?
Kids need to feel safe and loved and all that junk.
A story can do that.
And, telling these cute little animals the story of the robot and all that. And the reason there's a power behind stories is because we can live through somebody else's experiences and we can just reach out and get in contact with our soul, our spirit, our human condition. And we're reminded of the fact that we're more than just material. We're soul and spirit.
We're people.
We're people. And through that community, we can get through hard times. Even if those hard times are prolonged and it seems like they're not going to end, we have other people with us who are supporting us and we can support them. Even if we can't solve each other's problems, we're there with each other. Yeah. And that's why another reason why I love this movie is because it is holding up, it is honoring people's or animals' connections.
Just connection in general.
To each other. And that's
it's good. There was one line, one of the geese in there said something along the lines of,
sometimes hearts have their own conversations.
And that hit me like a truck. Because it's true. Sometimes things that you want to say to someone come through anyway, whether or not you say it. That comes through that connection.
There's a kindness that this movie has that is altogether too rare. A lot of movies could be elevated if they just embraced that. Honestly, the ones that stick with you, those are the ones that touch your heart. They don't pander to you. It's because it's connecting to your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your internal dialogue, everything that your heart wanted to say. Someone finally said it, and your heart agrees with it, and you can finally unload all of those emotions that you've been storing up inside.
Yeah. You have someone to lean on in a way that you'd carry each other through each hardship, and that's really needed for people. People aren't made to bear it alone, and it's important that we stick together. It's important that no matter if you hate what that person said or believes or whatever, that you would still protect them if they got hurt, comfort them if they were falling apart, help support them if they couldn't do it themselves, that you would help them get back up when they fall. The only way to do that is to put aside those differences. This movie is about a robot and a goose. That is about the furthest thing that you'd think that would come together. But this movie so seamlessly put them together. It had nothing to do with what they were or what they thought. It was just a mother and her son.
I just want to thank Chris Sanders and his team for everything that they did with this movie. I tell you, if you watch this movie, again, if you put down your phone and you just get into it, you will be carried through and you will feel better afterwards.
It's a natural feeling, and it's something that we need. So our mind affects our body. We will actually feel better when we experience real emotions. It's deep, and it's not always good. For instance, it's a mother and her child. She has to say goodbye to her son. That's a hard, deep feeling, but it's not a bad one.
It's leaning into what I would call good pain.
Healthy pain, yeah.
Knowing that you're gonna, for a time, say goodbye to someone. But that's not the end, it's just the next step on their journey. But you poured into them, they poured into you. It's one of the things that brings meaning to our lives. People are so isolated, like we talked about. Everybody's searching for purpose and meaning. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways to gain meaning is to be connected with other people. And if we talk about artists Artists have a unique gift to take their stories and connect all of us with those emotions through storytelling. Because we can't be with everyone. We can't always be together, but we can tell stories that unite us. If you were to look at the end credit scroll of your life, do you really think it would be just your name? There's going to be more people that have poured into your life. Who have you connected with? Who's connected with you?
How many artists have you listened to or watched?
Yeah.
How many friends have you talked to and poured into and they've poured into you? How many people have you never even met that might have influenced you without your knowledge?
Yeah, and if there are other artists out there that you'd want to connect with,
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons we're doing this
YouTube channel,
series.
yeah.
You know, we obviously do have the stories that we want to tell, but honestly, we just want to encourage more people to get out there, showcase their art, work on their stories, connect with each other, connect with us. If we can connect you with someone, we just feel like this is a pretty serious pent-up need that people have that can't be addressed with an app, can't be addressed with money, really.
Yeah, it needs to be addressed by talking to people. Please, talk to us. We want to be talked to. We want to talk to you. We want to make that connection. We want to support you. We want, hopefully, you to support us, that we can be a team. We haven't even met you yet. We want to work with you.
Yeah, we highly recommend The Wild Robot. You can watch it with your kids. They'll enjoy it. But if you're a parent...
You're going to cry. I'm not even a parent, and I was crying a lot.
Thank you for watching. Be blessed, and bless others.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait, we've got lights.
Oh, that might be important, yeah.
1, 2, eyes of...
Eyes ablaze.
All right. That's nearly 36 minutes of video that you get to wade through.
Yeah. I think you forget to, act natural after we've said goodbye because you realize that it's going to be at the end of the video. That's not the point.
Oh. All right. Well,
still in presentation.
Maybe it'll be longer than 36 minutes now that you've said that. I don't know why. I always feel like because we're making a video, we're making something, so I just gotta present.
No, once we say goodbye, that's when we're talking. And I'd prefer that because it's, again, part of the thing that we're putting forth is us. So, it's us.
But I'm not always that entertaining and exciting with everything that I say.
It's gotta be you.
Well, thank you for the very caring lecture.
I love you. You know I wouldn't bug you if I didn't love you.